Hi, this is 1010 the Navigator, and I am reading The Anunnaki Final Warning to Earth and Their Return in 2022, the 5th edition by Maximilien de Lafayette. And I'm starting on page 176. And this is part 2, the Greys Interbreeding Program with Humans. On the Greys Interbreeding Programs with Humans, this is a question and answer series. Question: what is the reason behind the Greys interbreeding program with humans? Answer: as provided by Sinhar Anbar Anati and as told by Maximilien de Lafayette. Very few people on the planet, on any planet, really understand the Greys. I have made it my business to learn all I could about them, and I will be able to help you. In my trip to their lab, I felt nothing could be worse than these beings, I said. They seem to me to be a constant menace to everyone. They are cruel, said Sinhar Inanna Shamara, but I am thinking about something else. Unless you know their problem, all you see is a technological, highly qualified race without heart or feelings, vicious, violent, and engaged in senseless, merciless experiments. But there is more to it than that. They are a dying civilization, desperately trying to save themselves. Dying civilizations? How come? I asked, surprised. With all their activity, they seemed very much alive to me and extremely dangerous. Have you ever heard of Progeria? On Earth, they also call it Hutchinson-Gilford syndrome, after the two scientists who discovered it in 1886. Yes, I have heard a little of it. Progeria victims are children who are, really, become old people before they even reach puberty. A parent nightmare, but very rare, I should say. On Earth, it is indeed very rare. On average, only one child of 4 to 8 million births is born with progeria. It is a rare and extremely frightening genetic disease resulting from spontaneous mutation in the sperm of the egg of the parents. Yes, this is what I have always heard, I said. The horror of this disease is that it has no cure. The child is born, starts showing early symptoms, and begins to age right away. The child remains tiny, rarely over 4 feet. Both boys and girls become bald and all develop a large cranium, a pointy nose, and a receding chin, resulting in an amazing resemblance to each other, almost as if they were clones. And then they die of old age, mostly in their teens, but often earlier, and there is nothing anyone can do for them. They develop old age diseases, such as hardening of the arteries, and often die of stroke or coronary disease, while their poor parents have to watch helplessly. The name progeria is very appropriate. It means before old age, and expresses it very well. But what is the connection of the progeria children to the Greys? I asked. A frightening suspicion began to form in my mind. The civilization of the Greys is millions of years old, and for eons they have been degenerating. A huge percentage of their population has progeria in varying degrees, and because of that, they are threatened with extinction. No one knows how many Greys are affected and how many are progeria free. We only know how many Greys are affected and how many are progeria free. We only meet those who are, at least for the present, able to carry on their duties with the help of their advanced medical technology. For all we know, there are millions of sick individuals hidden from view on their home planet. This is incredible, I said, shuddering. You must also remember that the Greys do not reproduce sexually. They used to, but not anymore. Also, they don't reproduce like the Anunnaki either. For thousands of years, they have been relying on cloning, and that has damaged their DNA even further, creating more and more cases of progeria. They are dying out. An entire civilization destroyed by progeria? It is almost impossible to believe, I said. If you study the two groups, you will see strong similarities between the Greys and progeria children. I won't go into all of them, as the list could go on for days, but let's consider the most prominent ones. For one thing, progeria does not produce any deform or any form of dementia. Both groups maintain their excellent mental faculties, usually with high IQ, until they die. That is a very important clue, but there are others for your consideration. Neither group ever grows much beyond 4 feet. Both have fragile, weak bodies with thin arms and legs. All their bones are thin as a general rule. Both groups are bald. Greys have no sexual reproduction, must have no genitalia at all. Progeria children never reach puberty. Both have large heads by comparison to their bodies. Both have receding chins and pointy noses. Within their group, they closely resemble each other. The Greys are cloned. The Progeria children look as if they could have been cloned. So what will the experiments they do help them survive? So will the experiments they do help them to survive? That is what they hope for. They take the eggs and the sperm from the humans and combine them from Grey's DNA. Thus, they create the hybrid children. Those poor children, I pity them so. They are not exactly what you think, Victoria. I pity them too, but you must realize that they are closer to the Greys in their character and behavior than they are to humans. What are they like? The first generation hybrids are smaller than human children. They tend to follow the growth pattern of the Grey's parent. And by now, you know, this is a very fragile one. They are even smaller than Progeria babies. The retardation of growth begins before birth. When you say first generation, does it mean they go on mixing the genetic material? Yes, that is exactly what they do. The hybrids may or may not have progeria, but naturally, the more human DNA that is mixed into the species, the more chances there are of eliminating the bad genes. So they breed the hybrids with more human DNA, always hoping to eradicate the disease, never quite succeeding. That is why they have to go get fresh human specimens all the time. Do you think they have a chance of survival? No, personally, I don't think they have a chance. I think they are doomed. But many Anunnaki disagree with me. At any rate, there's nothing we can do either way. Do you think the authorities on Earth who know about all this, like the governments of the various countries, why isn't something being done about it? Sinhar and Nana Shamara looked at me silently. Her big black Anunnaki eyes were suddenly full of such sorrow, such deep sadness, that I did not know how to react. Finally, she said, "Yes, they do know. I have to tell the truth, Victoria, even though it breaks my heart to do so. Almost all Earth governments have made a deal with the Greys. They supply them with humans." I jumped on my feet, completely horrified. They do that? They sell humans to the Greys for torture and killings? What do they gain? Can't you guess? Said Sinhar and Nana Shamara quietly. The Greys give them the technology they crave. They have learned so much from the Greys, and they most likely use it for military purposes. Humans are not kind to each other. Look at all the wars, torture, genocide, holocausts, all a part of human history and still taking place. Unfortunately, this is true, I said. Anyway, there are various places on Earth where these activities can be studied, such as military bases, mostly located underground in many countries. Someday, you will spend some time there, I am sure. Well, I said, trying to recover from the shock. I can't answer for the Earth's governments, but I can try to help. Indeed, you can. We are trying in many ways to alleviate the situation, even though, as I've explained before, we cannot police the whole universe or even the entire Earth. Do you think I should go and take a look at the hybrids as a part of my education? Yes, I think the best thing to do would be to take you on a field trip. You must meet these hybrids face to face before you make your decision about the mission. But there is something else I wanted to talk to you about. This mission will have to be on Earth, you know. There are no hybrid bases anywhere else, certainly not on Nibiru. You will be alone for long periods. We won't go back and forth to Earth very often, which means that you will have to spend your years on Earth, except from short vacations. Marduk told me that he had committed himself to work with those ape-like creatures he shape-shifted into, and scared me so much after our wedding. That means, I'm sure, that he will be away for extended periods of time as well, doesn't it? Yes, that is how we all live. My husband is on missions all the time. Most of us are. I used to go distant places. Also, even though currently my mission is teaching full time at the academy. But are Marduk and I going to be completely isolated from each other for all these years? No, of course not. Now that you have your conduit open, you can talk to each other every single day you spend apart. And every few years you can meet for a vacation. That does not sound too bad, I said. I will miss Marduk and all of you very much. But what are a few years? Have you given me the hope of living a very long and useful life? And Marduk has begun to teach me about the next phase of eternity, which is not yet entirely clear to me, but very comforting nonetheless. I'm trying very hard to absorb it all. In that light, I would be willing to make the effort without any regrets. There's only one thing. I am not sure if you will think it is a good idea. I can sense what it is, Victoria. You want a child. Was I that transparent? It was to be expected. Anyone who has had to give a baby up for adoption the way you so heroically did would want another baby. That is only natural. But why shouldn't you? Why did you think it an idea that would not appeal to me? Because I would have to leave the child on the bureau when I finally go on the mission, another abandonment. First of all, you did not abandon your son. You insisted on knowing all the conditions you were assured of the loving family and the wonderful future he was going to have. And as for the next child, surely you will see that our system here is extremely family oriented. When you go on your mission, let's say when the child is somewhere between 5 and 10, you will have an entire family ready to take over. Think about it. The baby's father, aunt, uncle, nieces, and not to mention their loving great-great-great-grandmother, 10 times removed, namely me, will be there, loving this child. And you can talk to the baby every single day through the Myria, see each other during vacations, and come back long before the child graduates from the academy. I don't think your mission will take 71 years. And frankly, I see no abandonment issues here at all. What will Marduk think? He will probably love the idea. He likes children. Not all Anunnaki choose to have children, you know. Some never do. Some only have one or two and then spend thousands of years without further reproduction. It is entirely a matter of free will. Those who want children are, of course, encouraged to have them whenever they please, since they make excellent parents. Those who do not wish to raise children are never pressured into having them. Remember, Victoria, you can have more children after you come back from your mission, if you choose to do so. It is always your choice, and time does not play any part in it. I was quiet for a few minutes. Being raised on Earth had eroded so much of the self-confidence and pose all Anunnaki possess. Well, I will have to work on becoming more like them. That is all. This time, I will have the baby Anunnaki style, I said, feeling better every minute in the tube, so I can freely study and travel during the time before it is ready for its birth. Incidentally, you can decide in advance if you want a boy or a girl, said Sinhar and Anushamara, matter-of-factly. I'll consult Marduk about it, I said. He may have a preference. I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. I just want a healthy baby. Well, that is a given. You will always have a perfect baby every time. And tomorrow, come back and I'll take you on the field trip. I think meeting the hybrids will be a very interesting experience. I went home, and as I was waiting for Marduk to come back from the Akashic Library, I strolled in the garden, breathing in the evening air and the scent of the opening night blooming flowers. I saw Marduk approaching and waved at him. You got your conduit opened, he said right away. I can sense it. Indeed, I said. Shall we try to communicate telepathically? Let's see if I'm good at it. Do you know how to start it? Said Marduk. I do. I did something in my mind which regrettably I cannot explain to anyone who has not activated their conduit. And the conduit opened, first a little hesitantly, then fully. It was a surprisingly easy, extremely pleasant and effortless way to conduct a conversation. I related to Marduk everything that happened in detail, and a conversation that would have taken about an hour was accomplished in a few minutes. As for the great decision, namely the child, not the mission, Marduk was charmed by the idea. A daughter, he communicated meditatively, if you don't mind. I had 2 sons, but I've never had a daughter. It would be a nice experience. Fine with me, I communicated back. And when I come back, we might consider having more children. I love children. Certainly, if you wish, Marduk communicated. I find raising children extremely nice. And so the decision was made, and I felt very, very happy. This is a good time to explain something regarding Anunnaki fatherhood. Earth readers might wonder how the Anunnaki male feels about children, since he does not contribute sperm and the fertilization of eggs, as I explained in a previous chapter. It occurs by the activation of the specialized light. Does the Anunnaki male see himself as the father to his wife's natural children? The answer is a resounding yes. The Anunnaki do not put much weight on trifling physical matters, such as the use of sperm. The Anunnaki couple is an inseparable unit, and whichever way a child comes into their lives, the child is secure of having a loving father. I wish the same could be said of all human fathers, whether they do or do not contribute sperm. And this concludes this section for the reading from page 176 to 183.